Welcome to our Unitarian Sunday Thoughts from Cork Unitarian Church. Today, we will briefly consider the significance of the question, did God make humans, or did humans make God? First, let's look at the part where we ask, did God make humans? People might have their own opinions about this statement, but at the end of the day, we really don't have tangible evidence that God created man. Mostly we have lots of creation stories from many different religions in all parts of the world. And people in our part of the world would be most familiar with the Genesis account, but that's only one of many creation stories. And to some folks, the fact that these stories exist suggests that there's something to it. But determining if these creation stories are true is largely a matter of faith rather than fact. It can be difficult to know how many people believe or don't believe these creation stories. This is because those kind of beliefs are indicative of the social circles that people interact with. So those people who do believe in them tend to associate with others who do, and those who don't tend to associate with others who don't. Generally speaking, survey data suggests that in our contemporary society, the literal belief that God created humans is a minority view, but still a significant one, which is fairly commonly held. There's also the added nuance that some people may accept religious creation stories figuratively, but not literally. For example, these people might take evolution to be the process that God used to create humans over a period of many, many years. The second part of our question is, did humans make God? There are plenty of examples of people creating gods. It's been happening ever since the beginning of human history. Evidence for this has been well documented by anthropologists, archaeologists, and historians. Human beings are simply God-creating species. Now, superficially, it would seem like with that evidence, things are largely done and dusted. However, there are still some interesting twists. For example, people can believe in both of those statements at the same time. For example, many people who would say that humans made God don't actually believe in God. So it would be illogical for them to agree with a statement that they believe cannot be true. You can't say that somebody made something that you don't even believe exists. As a result, non-believers need often to reinterpret the statement from humans made God to humans made their own concept of God. Even more ironic is that people who do believe God made humans might well also simultaneously agree with the reinterpretation that humans made their own concept of God. For example, religious traditionalists who believe that God made humans might also agree that humans made their own concept of God. This is often the case when religious people speak of other people's false gods. I'll share one more ironic twist. Remember, I had mentioned that there are religious people who take their creation stories as being figuratively rather than literally. And they accept evolution as God's way of creating humans. Well, to those people, they might be believing that God made humans to make God, thereby recognizing the seemingly uniquely human propensity to look for God. Perhaps the true significance of these questions is what they tell us about ourselves and how we see ourselves as being part of the natural world. If we see that natural world as an integrated system that includes some randomness but is not arbitrary, then we might be more inclined to try to understand both our place in it and our relationship with its integrating force. When we do that, it becomes natural for us to project our own experience, aspiration, and values into that or onto that integrating force. In theology, this is called anthropomorphism, the picturing of God in human terms. This phenomenon has long been recognized. Back in the 3rd century, before the Common Era, the Greek philosopher Xenophon famously quipped that if horses could draw, they would draw their gods as horses. But I think that to do a more proper justice to this phenomenon, we need to look at the discipline of psychology, where the relationship between a patient and therapist contains an aspect of the patient projecting onto the therapist their own feelings, thoughts, and behaviors from past relationships, particularly those with important figures. The psychologists call this phenomenon transference, and I think that transference is a more useful way to analyze ourselves as we engage in looking for our life's meaning with this integrating force that some people may refer to as God. So now I'll come back to you. What do you think? Did God make humans, or did humans make God? Would you go with one, the other, or both? Or would you look at it an entirely different way? And finally, do the questions even make a difference to you in the way that you think about yourself or your life? And do they help you make sense of things and help you to find your place in this world? And now for a blessing. May we be brave enough to ask difficult questions. May we be brave enough to accept that for some questions, answers come slowly. May we be brave enough to accept that sometimes the insight is in the question itself and not in chasing an answer. And may we always be patient enough for people who are not brave enough to engage with life's difficult questions. I wish you all peace and blessings.